Cosgrove. Hey there, I'm Miranda Cosgrove. Hi. I'm Miranda Cosgrove. Hi. I'm Miranda Cosgrove. Hi. I'm Miranda Cosgrove. Hi. I'm Miranda Cosgrove, and this is Mission Unstoppable. It's science, you know? You could fit 1.3 million Earths inside the sun. Well, not you. You're not strong enough to lift even one Earth. Get real.
Double touch.
Bats, 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 bats.
How is it going? Welcome to our Twitch and YouTube channel. We're live on both right now. In case you've never been here on either, this is Mission Unstoppable, which is an amazing show all about women working in science, technology, engineering, and math. And our show airs every Saturday morning on CBS, but we have all different kinds of content all over all forms of social media about women working in STEM. And so our Twitch and YouTube live shows are all based on that. For example, today's show, Science and Stuff, is all about the women who are on the show now who they come on and they're able to just share more information about what they do, because the segments are kind of shorter and more condensed, and you get a nice intro into what they do. But then once they come on here, then we're able to get more in depth, and it's awesome. So we get to learn from some of the coolest scientists who were on the show. And then on Wednesdays we do really fun shows called STEM Besties, and sometimes we do a gaming show. It kind of switches up, but it's all about anything fun and STEM related. So Thursdays we learn how to make something that is related to a professional STEM field, and it's like a hands-on activity. Sometimes they teach me how to code. Sometimes I'm learning how to make optical illusions and what they're doing in your brain, or sometimes we're doing like chemistry experiments. It's really awesome, so much fun. So make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube, subscribe to us on Twitch. Just a reminder for everyone in the chat today, our chat is followers only on Twitch, so make sure that if you're watching on Twitch and you want to be in the chat, make sure you're following us so that you can participate. You could ask Gracie Ermy, our guest today, some questions if you want. So definitely make sure you follow us and are participating in the chat. Other than that, speaking of how we're also live on YouTube right now, we have a very exciting thing on YouTube. We have a series called Miranda Cosgrove STEM Loft, and we have new episodes out every Friday. I think we have 8 out right now, and they're all so much fun. Every single one is now the kind of fact that when I need to impress my friends, that's what I'm going to share. So if I'm at a dinner party and they're like, hey, what's something cool? Or I just want to make everyone jealous of my knowledge of different STEM facts, I tell them what I learned from Miranda Cosgrove on STEM Loft. So we have a bunch of episodes. We have more coming out. So actually check out this trailer so that you can see what it's all about.
I'm Miranda Cosgrove. Welcome to the STEM Loft. Join me each week as I tell you some of my favorite STEM facts. Ever heard of the immortal jellyfish? Or what about tree farts? Yep, you heard it right. I even share some amazing discoveries from my friend, Dr. Jessica Esquivel, and her work involving quantum realms. Go Sharks! It's gonna be so much fun. New episodes every Friday. The mushrooms are listening. Bye!
I love that series so much. I can't say how much, or like I can't even explain it. It's so much fun. But yeah, definitely check those out after the stream. Make sure you go to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out when the new episodes come out on Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Other than that, let's jump into it. Let's get into everything. It is, of course, time for Science Newsy News.
Science news that'll impress your friends so you can't stop thinking about it even wanted to.
First and foremost, if you guys have been watching, you'll know that we had that intro for a while, and then we couldn't use it for a little bit, and then we got it back, and now it's back, and it's the best thing ever, because now I don't have to say it every time, because it's a lot of words all at once. So I'm thrilled about it. But anyways, for the first news story of today, it has to start out a little bit sad, but there is hope at the end. So I apologize in advance for it being a little bit sad, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it goes well. So in sad news, there's only 2 northern white rhinos that remain in existence right now, but science is working on changing that. So an artificial egg breakthrough might actually save this species. because the population has been declining and declining, scientists have been working hard at trying to save the northern white rhinoceros species, because obviously they're critically endangered, and again, there's only 2 left. So to do this, they've been trying to actually develop an artificial egg in order to allow the species to reproduce and allow the species to grow overall. So now, for the first time, researchers in the Biorescue Consortium successfully converted rhino skin cells into stem cells, which brings a lot of hope that they can then change these stem cells into egg cell, like with the right research and with the right technology, they're able to then change these stem cells to develop viable egg cells, so that then these rhinos can reproduce. So the 2 white rhinoceroses that are left are both female, and the last remaining male died in 2018. So fortunately, scientists were aware, they knew what was coming and all of that, so they ended up actually taking matters into their own hands and trying to figure out ways that they could eventually save the species, even if they didn't have the right technology to be able to do something like IVF on the rhinos. So they actually were able to then just freeze the last male rhino's sperm in order to then be able to use it later on to reproduce for the rhino species to grow. So this, of course, requires an egg. So after this recent development and what they found in this study, this could one day be created from the skin cells. Artificial eggs may still take a little time to fully develop, and they may happen farther into the future than we would hope. But thankfully, scientists have other options for how to save these rhinos. So what they could do is the team has already attempted assisted reproduction by using eggs from one of the remaining female rhinos and deceased male sperm, bringing the number of frozen white rhino embryos up to 14. So they currently have some frozen ones that could be good, like that are positive for the future of white rhinos. So we've already seen a number of the previous efforts that they've put forth with all of this and creating viable embryos for the rhinos. So hopefully this will work. And then what they could actually even do is then implant these into the southern white rhino species and use them as surrogates in order to rebuild this population. Slurpy Burpee in the chat says, I hope they can save them. I agree. I hope so too. With any luck, one or both of these strategies could be used to save the northern white rhino from extinction. And the team who is working on this experiment is hoping that they can bring thousands of other endangered species back through this same sort of research and what they're doing. So exciting, hopefully, and hopefully that this will save the species and other species from fully going extinct. And then for our second news story today, this one's a strange one, and I'm still kind of trying to figure out how I feel about it. So everyone leave comments in the chat about how you feel about it, specifically if you happen to live in the states of California or Florida, because that's where this is taking place. So the EPA has officially given the go-ahead for a biotech company called Oxitec to release billions of genetically modified mosquitoes into the environment in Florida and California. So it's just, I think I said millions, but I meant billions. So just billions of mosquitoes, but they do have a purpose. So the mission is to combat mosquito-borne diseases, kind of like, obviously there's the Zika virus and other viruses that come from mosquitoes. So the entire goal is that because these have been modified to react in a certain way, they will be able to then lessen those viruses. So after passing a risk assessment, Oxitec's technology was given an experimental use permit allowing 2.4 billion gene-tweaked mosquitoes and over 2 billion in California and just under 400 million in Florida to be released in 2 separate periods between 2022 and 2024. So this actually comes based off of a recent project where this kind of tested it in the Florida Keys, and it was successfully carried out in 2021, where they tested it with other mosquitoes. So now that the project has received the EPA permit, applications can be sent to local state regulators for them to then pass or deny. But the plan is then to release, and I have to read this because there's lots of things about genetic material. So they're going to release billions of male mosquitoes that are specifically modified to not bite, but they're genetically modified to express the protein lowercase t, uppercase TAV OX5034. And so this specific type of mosquito is not native to California or Florida, but it's a prominent vector for several human diseases. So the entire reason for this is that once the introduced males mate with wild female mosquitoes, the protein will actually be passed on and effectively kill female offspring before they reach maturity, and thereby reducing the local population of mosquitoes and quashing the disease of transmission. At least that's the hope, and that's what they're saying in theory would happen. Obviously, people are worried about this because what if something goes wrong and suddenly there's just billions of extra mosquitoes out there? The scientists that are behind this are very confident that it will be successful. They do not expect this to be an issue, especially because these mosquitoes are not meant to bite. So cross your fingers. Hopefully it goes well. Hopefully all goes the way that they are planning for it to go. And hopefully if you live in California or in Florida, hopefully you don't necessarily notice the extra mosquitoes around, because they're not exactly the most exciting things to notice flying around. But let's hope for the best. Hopefully that this will have positive contributions towards getting rid of some mosquito-borne illnesses. And then now, for our third and final newsy news story of the day, NASA has actually just opened a container of potential lunar gases that have been sealed up very safely for 50 years. So in the past 50 years, geologists have been slicing and studying slivers of the Apollo mission's lunar rocks that they brought back for analysis. And in that same, but now I'm sure you've heard that there's the Artemis mission, and because of that, they're actually opening up one of the two samples that have remained in a sealed vacuum over the past 50 years. And so, kind of wild, but this is in order to give them extra insight and just help them have a better understanding of what to expect with the Artemis mission. Initially, when the rocks came back from the Apollo missions, they were able to make many important discoveries. But technology has changed and developed and gotten so much better over the past few years. So by sealing and saving these samples for so long, these scientists are actually able to make discoveries from something that they collected 50 years ago and kept safe, in order to be able to study it with the improved technology. So if they were to have opened these 50 years ago when they didn't have the same technologies, didn't have the same capabilities, they just wouldn't have been able to figure out as much. And that's one of the fears with some of the older samples that have already been opened, is that they weren't able to get quite as much just because they didn't have the technology. So this is why they are opening it now. So very exciting, but they're not able, they're hoping that this also allows them to study the gases that they weren't previously able to sample and go through. So the team was designated by NASA to open the sample very, very carefully, obviously, in hopes that they are able to determine whether any gas is present, and if so, whether it's original lunar material or if it's gas that has seeped in since then, despite doing everything in their efforts to be able to prevent that. So the extraction process was designed to basically deal with a range of different leakage scenarios. So they added multiple layers. It's a very complex scenario just to even be able to open it. The worst case scenario of all of it is that if they open it and the gases have leaked out or other gases have gone in, it's going to be a lesson to them on how to seal these kinds of things in the future for safer and more successful sealing mechanisms. So the molecules loose in the containers have now been collected. So the rocks will be observed to see if any gases are still trapped in the rocks and if they will escape. Both initial and future samples will be put through the world's most sophisticated mass spectrometers in order to get to the bottom of what is happening. So we're going to have to wait for a few weeks to find out what's going to happen, if any potential gases diffuse, and we're going to have to wait months for the peer-reviewed results to officially happen. So when they come out, they're going to include comparisons with another sample that was collected at the same site but not stored in the same way. That way they're able to see what this storing method was actually able to do for them. So ultimately, hopefully by opening this sample now, they're able to get a better understanding for the geological history and evolution of the moon and the samples, and they're able to understand the Apollo mission better and prepare for the types of samples that may be encountering Artemis. So very exciting. I will update you guys once we have more updates on all of this, and then that way we can stay in the know. We can know how the sealing process worked and what the scientists found through this 50-year-old tube. I'm very excited. So anyways, that is it for today's Science Newsy News. Yay. Okay, very, very exciting. In even more exciting news, today we have such an amazing guest coming on. We have Gracie Ermy on the show. She builds machine learning platforms in order to support wildlife research. She's basically saving the world and animals, so it's very good. She's a great person. She's also an AASF If Then ambassador. She has a statue right now at the Smithsonian, and she's here today to talk to us. So check out her segment that was on Mission Unstoppable.
You know when you're whale watching and you're like, "Hi, Stacy." Wait, or was that Charles? Well, don't worry, because scientists have developed a program so you'll never mix up your whale friends again. Did you know killer whales are actually large dolphins? Orcas, like other dolphins, grow up swimming alongside their families, and they stay in that pod for their entire life, making these groups easy to track and identify. For instance, 3 orca families make up what's known as the southern resident killer whale population. This group of endangered orcas faces habitat loss and a diminishing food supply. Helping these massive mammals is a Herculean effort. But these 2 scientists have a plan. Meet marine mammal researcher Holly Fernback and computer scientist Gracie Ermy. Holly's job is to follow the pod in a boat and help capture images using a drone. Back on land, Gracie codes a program to study Holly's whale pics, which hold clues to each whale's overall health.
So a lot of people think that flying a drone is the coolest part, but I really love my job that I get to watch what the whales are doing. Our research helps us identify whales that we call whales of concern. Then we could work with other groups, both at the state and the federal level, to ensure that they have the space they need to get all the food they need.
To first get their photos, Holly and her team head out to sea with a state-of-the-art drone, nicknamed Maximus. Once the whales are spotted, Maximus is hand-released into the air. And Holly ducks under her high-tech, beach towel to cut down the glare so that she can direct the drone pilot to fly directly over the whales.
Keep going forward, 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 forward. Okay, you're picking up the whale. Looks like J16. Keep going forward. For each of these images, we may collect more than 60 measurements. We can measure to see how long they are, how wide they are. We're able to assess if they're growing like they should, if they're getting enough food.
This is where Gracie comes in. For her, conservation came second to her love of tech.
I decided to pursue computer science because I was told about all the different ways that you can use code and technology to make an impact in areas that you care about. Being able to combine my love of the environment with my technology skills was kind of a dream come true.
She's created a computer program to help Holly's team sort through their thousands of photographs to identify each whale.
First, we want to teach the computer to help us ID the whales. So we can use the saddle patch here on the back of the whale, and it's actually unique to each individual in the population. It's kind of like their fingerprint.
Once the computer matches the team's new photos with an image of a known whale, Gracie's program helps take body measurements too.
Based on different key points that it found, like the snout and the tail notch, the tool will be able to take an estimate at where some of the different measurements should be placed, and then you can go through and adjust as needed.
That would be a huge time saver. That's really exciting.
We know that it's never going to be 100% accurate all the time. And so we try to really build in a lot of ways that you can make sure what it's telling you is, the right thing and that you're saving really accurate data in the end.
Okay, that's great.
Holly and Gracie hope their technological efforts can aid wildlife managers in keeping these well-dressed whales around for generations.
It's really exciting to see how successful we've been at merging these two innovative tools, using drones to collect all the images, and then using machine learning and AI to analyze everything. It's just going to really help us aid in the recovery of endangered southern resident killer whales.
The chat said, I had no idea that you could tell them apart, and I agree, that's how you tell them apart. Isn't that so cool? I would have never thought, but of course, there are some awesome scientists out there that are able to work on that and get that happening, like Gracie Ermy. So let's go ahead and bring Gracie on. Yay! Hello! How's it going?
Hello, good. How are you?
Good. I love that segment so much. I think it's just so awesome to see the ways that you're able to combine your love of the environment with your love and skills and technology and be able to use that to better the environment and save the world. So I think it's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today. Okay, let's get right into it. You're a research engineer. So what exactly is a research engineer and what do you do?
Yeah, I feel like there are a lot of titles in the tech world for jobs that are pretty similar. My background is in computer science, so that's what I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in. And computer science is all about how do we write instructions in a way that a computer can follow so that we can get computers to do cool stuff for us, like telling whales apart.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like you said, I didn't know you could tell whales apart in that way either before I started working on this project. So that's been a really cool part of my job, is because we're applying technology to all these wildlife challenges, I'm getting to learn about the wildlife as well, just because that's not in my background at all, but I'm very personally motivated and interested in it. So it's really cool stuff.
That's really cool. So how exactly did you get into this career and what made you choose computer science?
Yeah, so growing up, my middle school and my high school didn't offer any coding classes. So I never had the chance to sign up to learn about computer science growing up. And even if I had those classes available to me, I don't think I would have chosen to take them, just because at that point, I didn't really consider myself a tech person, whatever that means. I didn't play a lot of video games, and a lot of the times technology was pretty intimidating for me. I would become very easily frustrated by my printer not working or the computer doing something weird.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I didn't have any adults in my life who worked in tech, and so I just never envisioned those careers for myself. But then when I got to college, I thought maybe I would study math, and because of that interest, I was encouraged to take a computer science class, and was really intimidated to take that first class because I thought I was way behind everyone else in the class, even though it was an intro class. So, we were all
scary
learning at the same time. Yeah, it is really scary to learn anything new. But it wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. And I really started to think about, and this professor in this first class really emphasized that you can apply coding in all these different ways to all these different fields and interests that you might have outside of tech. And that was really what hooked me. I was like, oh, I'm going to use this and hopefully make a difference in the world. So that's
so cool.
how I found myself.
I love that. Wow. So it all kind of just fell together and worked out. So you were kind of already like, well, I have interest in math. So you always kind of had an interest in STEM, it seems like.
Yeah, and I think like I've thought a lot about this. Like, were there things when I was growing up that like really sparked that interest? And I think honestly, a lot of it had to do with the fact that I have three sisters and we're all pretty close in age. And I really was wanting to differentiate myself from them, and none of them really had like a STEM passion. And so I was like, okay, I'll be like a math person. Math will be my thing, and that'll be different. And then I like tricked myself into really enjoying math in the end. So it worked out.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, it worked out. You convinced yourself and then ended up actually loving it. That's really, really cool. So then you took the classes. What does the process look like? Like, what do you have to, how long do you have to go to school for? What do you have to study in order to become a computer scientist?
Yeah, so a lot of people will get a bachelor's degree, so it'll take about 4 years to in computer science. But what's cool about tech is there are kind of a lot of different paths you can take. Like, there's some 2-year programs, there's some boot camp programs that are like just a few months. You can kind of really quickly learn a lot of stuff. And then, I got a master's degree, but that was mostly because I was like not really sure what I wanted to do and didn't want to get a job yet. So I was like, I'll just do some more school, which was the right choice for me. But a lot of people just get the bachelor's degree and then go out and get great jobs, in the tech world. So there's a lot of flexibility. Yeah.
Gotcha. And so then the second you heard that you can combine what you're passionate about with computer science, did it immediately click to you that you were like, the environment, that's what I want to do?
No, I didn't know, or I had not seen examples of this type of work until I was looking for jobs and internships. And I found this organization that was working on, building technology for the environment. They had all these cool projects going on, and I ended up getting an internship there. And that's where I first learned like, whoa, there's so many people working in this field and really applying technology in innovative ways to help wildlife.
Wow. It's awesome. It's just awesome to see how you can combine both of those and make it happen. So, I love it. I think it's just it's one of those things where there's different stereotypes with STEM, obviously. And so with something like computer science, you just think, okay, someone's just coding all day and they're in an office, but you don't understand like that it's in every single field. You can do it with everything. And so you found what you're passionate about with the environment and saving animals and things like that. And then you were able to use that with your computer science degree. So it just shows how flexible you really can be with a STEM degree. You're not stuck in one area. It's really cool.
Yeah. And I love that part of it, I feel like I'm a very indecisive person, and like the idea of picking a major was really stressful for me, and like what am I going to do with my life, which you never have to actually decide and like stick with one thing no matter what path you end up choosing. But what I loved about computer science was like I really felt like I kind of unlocked the door to work in any field that I wanted and to change it up as I went, and I wasn't sort of stuck with one thing.
That's so true. Did you ever, while you were in college, take any like environmental studies classes or things like that?
No, and I wish I had. But I feel like the computer science program was just like pretty intensive, and like you had to take a lot of classes, so my schedule was always pretty full. But yeah, I actually, since getting the job that I have now, I was able to go back to school for just like one class, and for a quarter I took a class about climate change, which was really awesome. So it was really a fascinating class, kind of depressing, but also I feel like that was really good knowledge to gain. Yeah.
Well, that also just goes to show though that with computer science, if you just hone in on that skill, you didn't necessarily need to take an environmental science to then be able to use computer science in the environment. So I just think that just goes to show you can take what you know from the skill and then apply it anywhere. It doesn't mean that you had to have even if you didn't have a full background in environmental science, like you didn't even have to take the classes.
Yeah. I feel like every day too, I'm like getting to learn more and more. about the area of wildlife conservation, and like I'm getting to learn from these experts in their field, like Holly, who you saw in the
Right.
segment, you know, like getting to learn from her, and scientists like her has just been such an incredible bonus, you know,
Yeah.
to my job. And a huge part of building this technology is that communication and that like learning period where we just really take in all the information we can from the scientists so that we can learn like what do they do every day, what are the challenges of what they have to do, like what do they wish they had that maybe we could try to build for them. So it's, yeah, I love that part of my job.
That sounds like it would be just so enjoyable and just something that you never get tired of. It changes all the time. You're always on your toes and always having to learn new things, and there's always more to be done. There's always more out there, and so it's very, I feel like it would be the type of work that just inspires you to keep going and learning more and learning from such amazing scientists.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's really inspiring and totally motivational, like you said. Yeah. Like we're always thinking about what's the next thing we could do, like what could we do? You know, we learn more about like what's impacting the orcas, for instance, and then we're like, okay, what could we do to like have it make a difference in that area? It's all just builds on top of each other.
I love that. So some of the projects you've worked on, I know there's been a few, like there's elephants, there's whales, there's dolphins now, like you've had so many. What animals have you worked with in those times?
Yeah, so kind of started when I was an intern learning about this field for the first time. Like I started with a project that had to do with sharks and rays, and doing like underwater video collection, and then writing code and building AI to automatically watch all that video footage, because there was like thousands of hours of footage being recorded, and
like it was just recording nonstop, so then the program would go through it. Oh, cool.
Yeah. There were like all these GoPros at all these different locations underwater, near coral reefs, like all over the world. And yeah, there was just a lot of video footage collected that, and sometimes there was like nothing happening in it. So just trying to cut down on like the time that people have to spend, you know, on tedious tasks like that. It's a big part of what I work on. So yeah, there were the sharks and the rays, a lot of stuff with elephants. We were using like images collected from airplanes to try to count the elephants and estimate the population size of some African elephants. Yeah, that was fun. And then yeah, the orcas has been a big one for the last few years. That's what I was working on. And then yeah, now dolphins, and learning about their whistles, and each dolphin actually makes a signature whistle, it's called, which is unique to that dolphin. And so we are building some AI that can automatically tell the difference between these different whistles and try to identify the different dolphins that way, which is really cool. Another thing I didn't know until I started working on this project, that dolphins make unique whistles.
So does the program that you build listen to the whistles and then it's able to differentiate them based on like pitch or something like that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Each one. So when we're working with sound data, we basically turn each sound into a picture. You can do some like data processing and kind of map out the sound and how the pitch changes as the sound is produced. Basically looks like a squiggly line. But each dolphin, you know, listening to the whistles, they're all just very high pitched, and like telling them apart just listening is pretty challenging. But if you turn them into pictures, each squiggly line, you can kind of more easily tell the difference between them. And so, yeah, each dolphin, their whistle has a specific shape to it. And then, yeah, we can get computers to tell the difference between those squiggly lines.
Wow. It's awesome. It's like, it's also cool when you're, I feel like if I were to hear from a scientist on the other side of this, that will put the dolphin sound into the software and it'll make that picture and all of that, I think I would be like, oh yeah, of course, that's so cool that exists. But I wouldn't think much about the building process. And it's very interesting to know that there's so much that goes into it, and that you guys are constantly coding and figuring all of that out in order to make it happen and help these researchers then be able to do their research on these animals and then be able to help with those populations. So what exactly are, like with this dolphin project, for example, what are the researchers trying to get out of knowing, being able to differentiate these dolphins?
Yeah. There are a lot of research questions that they have kind of been asking for years that they just, processing the data that the sound that they had recorded, like, just was taking so long they couldn't even get to like answering these questions. So, so kind of one of the main things they would want to do is the specific population of dolphins that we're working with is in Sarasota Bay, Florida. And
cool.
This bay has a lot of different stations where there's a recorder that's recording sound all the time. And so they do a lot of research to kind of understand where the dolphins are moving around the bay and like how their behavior, what sort of movement patterns they're sort of displaying and stuff. But what would make that a lot easier is if they could just have these recorders, listening, and then have our program analyze all the sound that's being recorded and automatically be like, oh, there's an instance of dolphin number 75, like they swam past this recorder at this time on this day, and have that sort of ability to process that data much quicker. Because right now someone would have to listen to the recording, and if it's recording 24 hours a day, like you're never going to catch up, to real time. So yeah, just kind of enabling easier analysis of what are the dolphins doing, where are they hanging out, and that can lead to more interesting research questions that I'm sure all these scientists would love to be able to answer.
Nice. It's every aspect of the project is just so important for then the next question get answered and the next question get answered, and it just that's just great that you're able to work on something that's helping all of those get answered. And like, the researchers would not be able to do that kind of thing without a computer scientist helping them make that AI program that's gonna figure it out for them, which is just awesome. But obviously working on a computer all day is different than being out in the field. Do you ever get to go out into the field where the animals are?
I have not gotten to, and largely that's because of COVID. Before COVID, I was working on like the elephant stuff, which was most of that, like the actual field work was done in Africa, in various countries in Africa. So I never got to go. I wasn't quite needed actually in the field, because I can do my work from anywhere, which is really nice. And with the orca stuff being closer to home, I probably would have gotten to go out, but then COVID happened, so I know.
Dang.
Yeah.
So does your normal work environment it's mainly you're at an office or like at a desk working on your computer all day?
Yeah, for the most part, yes.
Nice.
But
that's cool.
I get to work from home, which is great.
Nice.
And I really like that part of it. Yeah. So it's kind of, you can, with computer science, you just need your laptop and you're good to go. So you can do it from anywhere.
That's awesome. So when you were in college and you took your first intro to coding class, was it hard to learn how to code for you?
Yes, it was pretty hard. And I think if anyone tells you that it was easy for them, I don't know if I believe them. I think it's just one of those things that like you really have to practice a lot before you get comfortable at it. And just because it is hard doesn't mean that you're bad at it or that you shouldn't do it. It's just one of those things that's kind of, I don't know, it was pretty different from like anything else I had done. There were like aspects of math, like logical thinking and stuff that I had practiced in math classes that I could kind of transfer to computer science. But for the most part, it was just kind of a different world. And I had to like really practice a lot before I started to feel more comfortable. But
And there's like,
Yeah.
in coding, there's a bunch of different languages and things like that as well, right?
yeah, yeah. And one thing that I really, it was kind of challenging at the time, but I'm glad it was the case now looking back. Each class I took in college, pretty much each class, we'd change programming languages. So you'd have to learn a whole new programming language in almost every class. And so what that did though was really help me just be comfortable picking up a new programming language and like figuring out the ways that they're all pretty similar, because kind of the underlying concepts are the same no matter what programming language you're using. So just learning how to learn a new language was a really helpful skill to get. And now I'm like, well, whatever language I need to use at work, I'll be able to figure it out.
That's a great skill to have. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah. Python is definitely
Python's
my
your favorite?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
It's a good beginner language, but also you can do a ton of, that's what I use like 99% of the time now at work. So it's a
Gotcha.
useful one.
Do you have to kind of does your work, like in with each project you're on, tell you specifically, oh, we want you to use this one, this is what other computer scientists are using on our team, or things like that?
I guess Python is pretty common in the world of AI, and like a lot of sort of AI tools and machine learning tools are use Python. So it tends to be a pretty standard one for all the projects that I work on. Yeah.
Nice. That's really cool. So then is it also the type of thing where when you're coding, are there other computer scientists that you guys are like sharing code back and forth with and figuring it out together?
Yeah, totally. My team is so collaborative, which I really love. So yeah, we're always, and we're trying to do this more and more too. But just looking at each other's code and learning from each other's code and like helping each other come up with new ideas. I feel like there's always room for improvement on how we do that and kind of the process of it. But it's such a great team to be on, and I feel like everyone is really open to new ideas for how we could do it better, and like open to suggestions from other people. I don't ever feel like anyone's like judging me when they're looking at my code or anything. It's all very collaborative, and I really appreciate that.
That's really, really nice. I also think it's cool because I'm sure that if you're working on a specific code all day and maybe there's something that might not be working the way you want to or something like that, getting a fresh pair of eyes and then you being able to look at this fresh set of code that someone else just worked on, you're able to kind of, they're able to come in and maybe catch something that you don't see just because you've been staring at it all day, and you're able to do the same for someone else.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And even just like that's for sure the case, what you just described. Yeah. And then even just like talking through an idea that you have with someone is like a great way to get through those moments when you're really stuck. So it's just, yeah, having people you can go to for all kinds of help is, I feel very lucky to have that kind of environment. Yeah.
That's really cool. And so, okay, so then obviously coding mixed with the environment. Have you always had a huge love and interest for the environment, or is that something that came while you were more working in that sort of field?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like generally I have always really loved the environment. And then in college, I really started to like go hiking and like camping with my friends more and more. And that really gave me even more of an appreciation for, nature. And I was a camp counselor for many summers. So I spent a lot of summers just like outside the entire summer, which was like really a special like time in my life. And so yeah, all of that kind of mixed together, I feel like it makes a lot of sense that this is where I've ended up. And yeah, makes me a lot more motivated. All those experiences make me really motivated to do well at my job.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's so much fun. And so do you have like a dream animal that you would want to work on something with?
Well, I mean, orcas were definitely like that it's going to be hard to top that one. I feel like I
Yeah.
have always loved orcas so much. Like,
Orcas are the best.
I'm
They're so
yeah,
beautiful
they're like
and just so
they're
cool.
so amazing. Yeah. So that was kind of a dream come true, just to work on that project alone. And I really am just like fascinated by every creature in the ocean. I feel like the ocean is
Nice.
such a mysterious place, you know, and like it's just kind of mind blowing that there's all these animals that are like massive animals just under the water, and like we don't necessarily know what they're doing, or like it's so fascinating to me. So I think
Yeah.
anything ocean related, I'm like pretty fascinated by.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There's still so much to be explored and so much to be done there that it's such a fascinating area.
Yeah,
What
totally.
what are some of the other jobs or areas that people could study if they're interested in science, but also in the environment, but don't necessarily want to just do environmental studies?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, well, I mean, just within like the work that I do, there's a lot of different roles, not just like programming, but there's like project managers who are kind of more on the organizational side, and they may or may not have a coding background, but you know, they're planning out projects and like helping us stay on track and making sure we meet all of our goals and stuff. There's a UX designer, I think, is a really cool job.
Yeah.
UX is user experience. We have an amazing UX designer on our team who she does like, she's like a miracle worker. I feel like she does all the a lot of the sort of facilitating conversations with the scientists that we're working with, and really dives deep into like what they do, and what their work looks like, and then distills that down for us to be able to really pinpoint like what we should build for them. And yeah, so if you like talking to people and like, you know, asking a lot of questions, it's almost like a journalist, I feel like, in some ways. But there's a lot of UX work that's valuable in any field, but in the environmental sort of space, I feel like pretty much any technology could be improved with more UX research. So that's a really important one. Yeah, there's so many, you know, there's so many roles, I feel like, in any field. If you just like look a little bit closer at it, it's not just like people in tech are programmers, you know, there's like so many things. And the same with the environment. There's not just like environmental researchers. There's probably so many supporting roles there that I don't even know about. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just, exactly. So it's like, I love that whole aspect of find something you're good at, apply to what you're interested in, and there'll be something there, whether that's a project manager, UX designer, research engineer. There's anything.
Yeah.
You could honestly find anything for what you want to do. What would you say are some of your favorite parts or the best part of what you get to do each day?
Yeah. I really do. So obviously like the wildlife stuff is like really fascinating. Getting to learn about that is a huge, one of my definite favorite things. But I really do love coding. Like just getting to sort of sit down with a challenge that I'm like, okay, I'm going to code a solution for this. Like that can be at times frustrating, but for the most part, like it's really fun to like sit with a challenge like that and actually work through it. And then the feeling that you get when you like your code runs and it does what you wanted it to do is like pretty amazing. So yeah, I do everything for that feeling.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. I could only imagine like how great it feels when you've been working on something and then you just get to see it work. It's like, oh, okay, I did it.
Yeah.
There was one time on one of our Twitch shows where I was being taught the very, very, very basics of coding. Like we were learning how, it was when we were like learning how to make a snake move on the screen or something like that. And when I made it happen, I was like, okay, I get it. I understand how this is so rewarding at the end. And I did the most basic, small thing possible. But like, I could only imagine with a huge project where you're working, like, to be able to provide this for other scientists to be able to use in their research, like, it's the real deal, and you're figuring out this AI technology. I could just I feel like that would be the best feeling.
It's pretty awesome, yeah. But at any level, it's a great feeling. Whether you're making the snake move or you're, you know, building something bigger. Yeah, it's fun.
We had a guest once who was also a computer scientist on one of our shows who was saying how if someone is the type of person who in their career they want the type of job that gives them that like at the end of what they did, it gives them that satisfaction and that reminder of, okay, you did it, you did a good job, like this is a good job for you.
Yeah, that is so true.
You get that affirmation at the end once it works. But I'm sure there's also a lot of times where you're struggling with something and you're frustrated, but then once you get it, it probably feels that much better.
That's true. Yeah. No, definitely. Also, yeah, computer science has taught me a lot about perseverance and like just being determined and like not being a perfectionist. Because yeah, sometimes you gotta sort of try out a lot of different things before you figure out what's going to actually work, and gotta just stick with it.
How can people work on getting involved in like the intersection of environmental studies and computer science and technology overall?
Yeah, I would say to just start researching what organizations are out there working on this stuff already, and like what are people building, what's exciting to you. There's usually there are a lot of different data sets that people have collected that are like related to wildlife, that they have just sort of shared online. Maybe it's like part of a challenge or like a data challenge, or it might just be like freely available for anyone. And so if you're interested in like machine learning and AI, like just playing around with those data sets that are related to wildlife, I think is really good experience, and just seeing what you can build. And also a fun way to get experience. I think more fun than, you know, something that's like data that's not related to something you're interested in. Yeah, there's probably so many different organizations looking for volunteers to help with, you know, technology challenges that they might have. So maybe just reaching out to different organizations who are doing stuff that you're interested in. But yeah, I think just learning about what all is being done and like what are the challenges that still remain and where are your interests, and just thinking about that is a good place to start.
Definitely. And so how cool is it though also that you made that happen, like you did all of that and you made it, now you have that, and then now you have a statue that's in the Smithsonian. Yeah. Like all of that led to them
unbelievable.
Did you get to go see your statue?
I did. It
nice.
Was like definitely one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to do. I got to stand by it for a while and like talk to people who came by, and there was a lot of like looking back and forth between the two and like, is that you?
That's so cool. So for anyone who's watching that doesn't know about these statues, so If Then has the largest collection of female statues because there aren't many statues of women in the world, specifically of real women, right? And so then If Then made the biggest collection of them, and now they're in the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It's like, yeah, it doesn't feel real. It was, one of the most like, almost like an out of body experience. I don't know how to even describe it, but it's been very, very cool.
Yeah. So when you were becoming a computer scientist, did you ever think that you would have a statue?
No, I definitely did not.
So cool. But now look at you. You have a statue.
Yeah. that's really the best way to like overcome any self-doubt that I ever feel. Like,
You're like,
oh,
but
I have
it's
a
fine.
statue. Okay, I'm okay.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah.
I'm part of the biggest collection of women's statues in the world. It's whatever.
Right.
So cool.
Yeah.
So before we go, what kind of advice would you give to someone who is looking to pursue a computer science degree or go down that career path?
Yeah. I mean, what I was saying about like perseverance, like there are going to be probably times where you're just like, am I good enough to do this? Like, is this really what I want to do? And like, definitely, you know, computer science doesn't have to be what every single person just decides to do, but I do genuinely believe that anybody can learn computer science and anyone can be really great at computer science. No matter what, you know, your other interests are, whether you like think you're a math person or not, which I think getting rid of like the sort of anyone can be a math person, but you know, like whatever your interests are, and whatever your skill sets are, and like the things that you feel like you're really good at, like you can apply those in computer science and like find a job that you'll love. So yeah, I would just say stick with it. Like the world of computer science really does need your viewpoint and your perspective and your ideas. And so yeah, just remember that I really want you to come join me and work in this field, and
Yes.
you can absolutely do it. So just remember that if you ever come up to a hard time.
Definitely. That's amazing. I love that advice. And it's just, yeah, it's important. Just keep going, do it, stick with it. Your perspective by being like, let's say you feel different than how these other computer scientists are. That's a good thing. Bring your unique perspective and let that be a part of what you're doing. And that unique perspective might be the exact thing that a certain person or company or so, like who you're making the code for or something like that needs in order to get that project done. So there's always room for everyone. People just need to stick with it and trust that the process will work out.
Yes, absolutely.
Love
Well
it.
put.
Well, thank you so much, Gracie, for coming on. This was so much fun. I love all of the amazing work you're doing with animals and the environment and computer science, and showing how you can do both at the same time and like combine those loves for different areas into one job. And so thank you for coming on and talking to us about all of that today. And in case anyone missed her segment at the beginning of the stream, you can go to our YouTube channel, check it out. I promise you'll enjoy it. It's so much fun. It's a really good segment. She is just out there with the killer whale. Well, she's making the code for the killer whales, and you get to see another researcher getting to use that in the field. It's awesome. So go check it out. Thank you so much for coming on. Please come back soon. We love talking to you. We love everything you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Of
I'll come back
course.
anytime.
Great. I'm so glad. Yay. All right. Bye, Gracie.
Bye.
Yay. She is the best. I know I keep saying it, but everything she's doing is amazing. And so I'm glad that she was able to come on and tell us more about how she got to where she is, what she gets to do in her job, the different kinds of jobs she's had. So that was super fun. Just a reminder to everyone out there, whether you're watching on YouTube right now or on Twitch, make sure that you subscribe to us on both of those and also across all social media at CBS Unstoppable, so you don't miss out on any of the content about women working in science, technology, engineering, and math. Make sure you tune into Mission Unstoppable this Saturday for an amazing episode of the show, again, hosted by Miranda Cosgrove, and it features the coolest women in the coolest career fields working in STEM. So much fun. Make sure you don't miss it. And then also make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, like I was saying earlier, because we have a series that we have had new episodes out of every single week of Miranda Cosgrove STEM Loft, where she is just, it's Miranda Cosgrove teaching you science facts. Does not get any better than that. Dream come true, honestly. And then Other than that, make sure that you subscribe and follow us here on Twitch so that you don't miss out on the rest of our streams. We have 2 more streams this week. On Wednesday, we have the Tech Setters coming back, and they're going to talk to us about digital fashion, which we did for the last show, but they have a new guest coming on, and I'm so excited about it. It's going to be awesome. The whole idea of digital fashion is just fascinating, and this is an expert in digital fashion, so make sure you come back and check that out. And then on Thursday, we are going to be learning about the microbiome with Anna Porras. So make sure you come back for that. Get your yarn ready because we're going to be making little things with yarn while she teaches us, and I'm so excited. Can't wait to see everyone back later this week. We will miss you until then, but thank you so much for watching. Goodbye!